Hello and welcome to ATypI Tech Talks. I'm Nitish, a type and product designer who's researching on typography for AR headsets. And today I'm going to share with you the emerging variables in typography for augmented reality. So let's get started. So after decades of use, we have become accustomed to using screens at a distance. And this includes desktop, laptop, mobile and tablets on which we spend a lot of our time. But now that is at the verge of changing. The distance of screen from our eyes is set to change from about a foot to a fraction of an inch. So basically that's a major change which is happening right now. So in this case, like the immersive AR headsets are going to change how we consume information, which will lead to higher immersion. And then since the field of view is changing from about 40 degrees to more immersive 200 degrees. And if you want to understand that, I'll give you a simple demo. So just imagine like cutting a small window through a piece of paper, and then when you see the world using this hole and this window around you, then you see a small amount of world which is available if it is at a distance. And then as you move this closer to your eyes, what you see is the world, the area that you can see through becomes much more larger and larger. So basically this is your field of view which is changing as these kind of new immersive displays are coming in, and then these become very close to your eyes. So basically now moving on to understanding the devices, even though I mentioned that the screens are about 1 inch from your eyes, but the placement of virtual objects is still further. So in this case, like the screen is here, but again the virtual objects that you are going to see in the world are going to be further away. And then these objects are overlaid in the user's surrounding. Basically, this is in this process we basically deceive our minds to think that the objects are far away, even though they are being projected right close to your eyes. So now that you have an idea about immersion, let's understand how these devices around us, which have been there for a longer time, are evolving. So basically now our dumb sunglasses, they will become smart, in which we can add contextual information, and then that can help us in leading a much more easier life where all the information is available right in front of you at any given point of time. And then this shift is also happening in desktops, where the changes are going from desktop to AR and mixed reality headsets, which means we may no longer need these bulky desktops around us for a longer period of time. And then like another change which has already happened, and then which is quite in a booming stage right now, is the VR headsets. So those have already made their mark in the gaming industry, and then they are selling, like basically I can give you a stat. So Oculus Quest 2, which is a virtual reality headset, has reportedly sold more than like million units in a single quarter, which is a huge mark. So now that we are here, so just let's understand and then focus more towards augmented reality. So a lot of people have been skeptical about AR since they don't see a lot of these devices around them. So let's look at the trend that investors look at when they are investing in emerging tech. And then for that, they refer to basically the Gartner cycle, which is the go-to place for these people. And then in 2017, what they showed was that augmented reality was under decline. But now, as we fast forward to like basically looking at the stat which came out in 2020, it was no longer available in these trends. So if now you want to know why, so basically they consider this piece of tech, which is augmented reality, to have matured from a evolving tech to a mature tech which is now being used across different industries. So and then with this, now AR has billions of dollars of investment and multi-billion-dollar deals in terms of like enterprise usage. So yeah, this tech is now part of enterprise workflow, and then it is saving millions of dollars for big companies where it is being used currently. And as we move further, this will gradually trickle down to consumer market, which is like people like us, the consumer, more towards not factory floors, but real world people using these kind of tech. So In this case, I just want to propose why not get an early bite of share in this market. So that is what we are going to discuss now. So now that I've explained basically the AR, the growth in AR, let's talk about text in AR, for which we are here. So yeah, moving forward. So in looking at the screens in past decades, what has been happening is that there are some key aspects that contribute to comfort and immersion in AR, and among those factors I have shown in this diagram. You can see the ones. So these are multiple factors which come into play when we are talking about comfort and immersion in AR headset. But for us, like as type designers, so basically I've marked the ones which really affect us, and then which will affect the workflow that we are going to use when we are designing for these kind of headsets. So to be honest, I won't get into the details of these because I have already discussed these aspects during last ATypI 2020 talk, which you can just scan this QR code and see there, where and I think we'll move further and then let's understand the different aspects of text which will help you understand the behavior of text in augmented reality headsets. So the first thing that comes into my mind is understanding the anchoring of text. So where really this text is in these in the view and in a particular experience that user is going to be immersing in. So it can be game, or it can be a navigation application, or any other application like that. So first up is the world space, in which the objects are placed in the real world, and then they stick to a particular location in the real world. So basically now just imagine placing a marker on a particular location, and then providing the information for that, and then seeing that through AR glasses. Second comes in the headspace, in which objects are placed in front of the user and follows the head movement. So basically, if the object is right in front of me, and then if I'm moving, then this virtual object will follow my head movement. So that's the second. And then there is another thing which is the eye space, which is usually the elements which stick to the gaze. And then when I see the gaze, in this case, my head will not move. So basically, just imagine there is a notification, and then if I am moving my eyes around, then and not moving my head, this kind of moves with my gaze. And then this is the most obtrusive kind of element which is there in AR experiences. But again, and this is supposed to be used minimally and then provide very crucial information. Further, there is this object space where the information sticks to real objects. So basically, in this case, I can and then if I give you an example. So basically, if there is a machine part you are holding, and then there is a notation on it where it shows a name of the part and then particular thing where you have to screw instructions to screw. So in this case, what will happen is that information always sticks to this object which is in my hand, and then it changes direction. Now let's move to placement of text. I created this classification to understand the placement of text in these headsets. So the first thing is our HUD region, which is heads up display region, where the text is positioned directly in front of the user instead of being at an angle. So it's directly going to be in front. And then the second one is the UI region, where most of the interaction happens, where the user can manipulate objects and elements. So this is going to be the most interactive and most used part of the whole experience, where user can just scale things. Users can pick things and then play around with different things. And then the third the region which comes into play is the environment region, which mostly contains annotations and overlays of info over the real world objects. And then in this case, I can give an example, which is signages and all these kind of things. So I'll explain this in further details in the coming slides. So further moving on, so now another thing which comes into play, which I have been repeating multiple times, is the viewing angle. So it can be fixed. So in that case, as I had already mentioned, HUD region requires info to be fixed directly in front of the user. Other scenario is where the text changes angle. So, or it is at an angle. So it can be two cases where it's already present in like in particular like orientation, versus it changing orientation as responding to the user's like user's gauge, or like different kind of aspects which are there as part of the experience. Next is the state of the text. In this case, like the text can be stationary, or it can be moving, like it happens in ticker tapes, which we are used to seeing in stock market kind of stats, and so that is also there. And then another aspect which is the state of the user as well. So the user can be stationary, or the user sitting in his or her living room, or walking down on the road wearing AR glasses and then getting navigation information. So by now, I think you would have a good idea about various variables that might affect the reading experience. So let's jump into the use cases, and then and see all the aspects that we have discussed in action. So the first thing which is there is the text in heads up, the heads up display text, which is in this case the text is so in this case the term is also basically a direct reference from the heads up displays in aircrafts, which has been there for like decades now. So where the information sticks to the view of the user and then stays in position even if the head moves in any direction. So basically it will follow the direction and everything. So just have a look at this video, and then it will make it much more clear.
Target's located.
Roger.
Let's go.
So one key aspect here is that the text complements the view, and it should not ask for too much attention, so and thereby distracting the user from the main task he's supposed to do. So in this case, you can see like in the video you would have seen that there was certain text which was like right up there. So in that case, it can be time, it can be the coordinates or something like that, where the user it is there to serve a purpose, but only when the user wants it, not all. So it remains there, but again it remains it sits there and then stays neutral to the attention of the user. Further, this is the biggest challenge that we have to face is text for long reading. So in this area where we are expected to match the experience with the conventional mediums, and when I say conventional medium is then I'm talking about basically desktops and books. And then here the major aspect which comes into play is that we are fighting against all the technical challenges which distort the letter shapes and hinders easy reading in these AR headsets. And majorly this scenario includes text anchored to the head, so it's directly in front of the users in most of the cases, but in some cases it can be anchored to the real world objects, thereby appearing at an angle in front of the user. So in this case, I can give an example. So maybe you're walking down the road and then there is a monument which is there, which is towards your right, and then the description which appears. So if as a this is quite true for any application which is catering to the tourists. So that can be at an angle, and then user might be walking and then seeing it at an angle. So that information is all. So that type of long paragraph reading experience can be there, but ideally it should be right in front of the user. So basically, I think I would you can have a look at this video, and then
side, we use HoloLens 2 to enable the workers to achieve complex tasks or tasks that require an intense reading of documentation, while finally they're hands-free and they can access complex.
So in this case, we are dealing with text at a distance as compared to reading on books screen. So we are utilizing the principles of distance reading and signage. And signage can be a good approach, how we design for signages can be a good approach to designing text for longer reading in AR headset as well. And here it is strictly necessary that the text and the user are stationary. Otherwise, it will end up being a nauseating experience, which is not good for the user's health and then eyes as well. Further, another thing which comes into play is that another type of text is sticky info text. This type of text will become quite common as we move ahead in AR, since it is all about augmenting real world objects. Hence, annotating objects like daily stuff we can interact, and like basically industrial prototypes are a big use case. I think I mentioned this earlier as well. So let's look at the video and then understand like what it really means to have sticky info sticking to a particular object. The part of objects can be annotated so that they can retain their position, and reading at an angle would be quite necessary in this case. If the typeface accommodates for this, then the need for the user to move the objects every time he wants to read that particular information which is at an angle becomes it reduces it. And then another major challenge which comes into this kind of scenario is having a lot of busy backgrounds because you don't know where you would be like picking up this object and then looking at the information annotated on it in the real world. Next is the signage text, and then we have been designing for this use case for ages now, to be honest. And drawing here, we can draw inspiration from signage and motorway typefaces, and it can be a great way to like basically understanding what are the user needs and then how to go about and design certain issues which appear in this particular scenario. So just have a look at this video. Here, letter recognition at a glance and perspective distortion becomes priority that we have to solve for. But unlike in this case, unlike conventional signages, the elements here, like the text can be interactive and anchored to the real world objects. So further, I think we can move to responsive text, which is so at this point it might seem to have limited usage, but as we progress, chances of it being frequently used is very high. So especially when navigating in the real world. So just check this video and to understand it. Here as well, glance recognition becomes priority as the user is not stationary or might be moving at higher speeds. And then imagine, so in this case, just imagine you are using Google Map in the headsets, and then think of the time when you miss the turn because you couldn't check the map on time. So you're moving fast, the information has to appear at the precise moment, and then the user has to see it as soon as possible or in a very very short span of time, so for it to be much more like beneficial and then for it to serve its purpose. Further, I think coming to another type of thing which is there is the ticker text. As usual, I really met people who like reading text and tickers or these like moving pieces of text. But this is one application which just works as we are used to seeing it by now. But be it in news stickers, in shop signages, things like that, we see these everywhere. And there is a good reason, to be honest, which is that it fits a lot of information in a limited space, and no wonder that it will be quite common as we see, and we'll see it in AR, because the viewing area, the field of view is quite limited at the moment, and then it is growing. But still, if we are working with limited kind of space, then having ticker text makes much more sense, since we would squeeze in more and more information in it. So just have a look at the video.
Ay no, cállate.
So here the challenging part is the reduced glance time, because both the user and the text might be moving at the same time. So so what happens is that the speed at which we have to read has to be like 2x faster, or because considering like both the movement from the user and the text as well. Now the question comes, how do you solve for these challenges? The first thing that comes to our mind is having multiple typefaces or styles to cater to different scenarios that we discussed just now. But that is not the optimum solution or the way to go about it, because rendering multiple fonts in the system means high processing power to just display typefaces, which is, to be honest, a least of the priority for developers compared to other tasks and things happening in the headset. So now the next question which is there is, why not use variable fonts? So well, I think, let me break it to you. We are living in the primitive world of bitmap style application of fonts in these kind of AR headsets, and then even the OpenType features can't be implemented properly in AR. So in short term use, it is better to stick to least number of fonts that can serve multiple use cases. And then in long term, I will get there, that we will be much more advanced, and then we'll talk about it in a bit in coming slides. So if you want to learn about rendering of text in AR, then do check my research section of on my website, which will give you more context on these specific challenges on rendering and then how text is implemented in AR. So the question comes, why tackle the problem right now? Now most of the organizations have realized the extra cost of building design system at a later stage. So hence a lot of these design systems are already in creation that will be a backbone of future use in these kind of different headsets and applications. So, and in these design systems, typography is a very fundamental block, and most of these systems build on top of typography and these basic elements which are there. So for just to understand, if we see the market, there are very few options available, type options available that can withstand the beating of AR technology and the shortcomings in AR tech. There are no typefaces which can scale better across platforms and devices, which again in a future application and scope point of view becomes quite important for a larger organization. So this opens up a huge space or huge opportunity for us as type designers to address the needs and give the system designers, people who are designing for these headsets, more and more typeface options to choose from and create delightful experiences. So again, here are some typefaces which are being used in major platforms, and then which are adopted for current or upcoming headsets. And out of these, only Domino type family was designed keeping in mind AR as a medium, but that too was that too had limited testing on the real headset itself. So now I come to this point where we have a chance to redefine typography and type design. So talking about the long-term application of typefaces now, yes, variable fonts will be a great asset for us because of their flexibility, and but we are at a stage where it is much more better because the whole implementation can be built from scratch, and we can find ways to solve most of the issues that we felt helpless about in past during 2 decades. So and then now talking about few aspects, so we a lot of us are quite furious about how non-Latin scripts are implemented and how they are treated in different kind of type system, how we use fonts and how we also use fonts in different kind of mediums, and anything and everything can be changed at this stage. So I think there is a need for an open dialogue to discuss and pitch ideas that can help us in terms of understanding this, and then we can join forces and to just make a bigger discussion and have a conversation about it to make these changes reality, and then not just sit and then crib about most of the things which have happened in past. So I think I'll close this presentation with a request. So please scan this this QR code and then join the conversation, and then that would be great for the whole type industry, I think. So yeah, I think that's it. Thank you and stay safe.